I think this is the first one for 2023. So, hello to everyone that I haven't seen since last year. Before we start, I'd like to acknowledge that we are meeting on Yorta Yorta, Dja Dja Wurrung, and Tangarang country, and that comprises Central Victoria. Some of you may be even further away. So, welcome everybody. For those that don't know Startup Centre Victoria, we have a range of free events. This is our third year of operation. We're starting a pre-accelerator program in July. Tonight, for instance, we have our online free chats, business to business, sharing a business journey. So they happen every month. And we have some other special events, which I'll share with you at the end as well. It's going to be an exciting year. We're funded by LaunchVic and supported by all the LGAs and many partners across the region. But most important of all, it's the business people that volunteer their time and their knowledge and their skills to share. We're building an ecosystem together. So I'll start by thanking Michael Lancaster from Geekly Computers for donating his time, volunteering, putting forward his time, investing in his time, because we all learn from each other in these chats. It's about gathering up the resources and being aware of the opportunities. So we do have many fabulous IT support services in the region because IT is big in any business or any home office or any student's office. It really is a growing industry, I believe. We'll ask Michael if that's true. But you might have noticed some spiffy, I'll get that right because I'm sure it's in the dictionary, spiffy adverts on social media lately. And that's what caught my eye. So well done, Michael, because we hadn't met before then. And then I'm walking down Mitchell Street and lo and behold, here's a shopfront. Incredible. A traditional
shopfront.
Yeah, just amazing. So I'm thinking this is astounding and worthy of further conversation. So then I'm chatting to Michael and he says, I created this startup in 24 hours. Well, how's that for a catch line? So I was hooked. We had to learn some more. So thank you, Michael, for coming and joining us for our business to business chat tonight.
Pleasure.
So set the scene for us. Give us a thumbnail sketch of your business, when it started, where you are, and what you offer.
So Geekly Computers just primarily focuses on residential. We don't have too much of a hand in the business sector. We just wanted to make sure that people that are using laptops and computers at their home can come to a place, get it fixed extremely quickly, and know that they're in good hands. The main thing is transparency. As soon as someone comes through the door, we tell them how much it's going to cost because we have a fixed labor schedule, so we don't charge hourly. And also a time frame. So we've chosen our suppliers very specifically to have incredibly fast delivery, mainly from Melbourne, at really good prices. And we can give everyone what they want, fast turnaround time on tech so they don't have to go without their computers for days on end. And our average turnaround time at the moment is about 2.5 hours.
So how long have you been operating for, Michael?
About 2.5 years. So we started in October 2020. 2020 and 2021 is so fuzzy to me because
you're sort of in
COVID.
A lockdown period, are you not? Where were you operating from then?
I was up in Killian's Walk, just off the Mall in Bendigo. So I had an office up there that I was using as a web design studio, and I was doing digital marketing at the time. But then I transferred into something that's a bit more cash flow positive, less up and down depending on the climate of the world. So everyone had computers, everyone was working from home, and I was like, cool, let's do this. Let's give this a go. And now it's about 80% public.
Excellent. So why start this business and what led you down this pathway? It sounds like you've taken a few twists and turns already in your business.
Yeah, so the business model's always been the same. Literally the day that I started the business was the day after someone called my web design studio for a computer. It was really, really, really strange. They just said, can you build custom computers? And I was like, well, I have in the past. I've built maybe like 10 with my hands by myself by then. And that goes back to my Senecom days when I was working in retail up there. So I've got a computer background there. And then this guy asked me to make a computer for him. And I was like, yeah, why not? money was tight. Let's give it a go. And then that turned into a referral for his friend to get a computer built. And no word of a lie, that friend that I helped referred his other friend. And then it just compounded from there. So it turned from building computers to repairing them. And that's when I was like, cool, let's just do this from now on. I've got the time, I've got the patience for it. Let's just go for it.
So organically you sensed a need. Did you try and test it in any way, or you just took the plunge?
Just took the plunge. I've got a history in IT selling, and I did a bit of tech work when I was up at Senecon as well, but I was never allowed to. The manager always said, no, you're a salesman, get out the front. But in my downtime, when there was no customers walking in, I'd always be out the back helping the technician or just helping my customers that I booked in for tech work. And I'd quote them 5 days for a repair because that was the average turnaround time for something simple. And when I called them back 3 hours later saying it's fixed, they were just so happy. So I've kind of taken that and then turned that into the main driver of the business, is how quick can we get things done, while still giving the same outcome as someone who would wait 2 weeks.
So who is your typical customer? You did say you're home-based, but give us a demographic, paint us a picture, or you might have 2 or 3.
60% of our clientele are women aged between 40 and 80. So that's the major clientele base, simply because I feel like we've positioned the brand to be so approachable because I've mixed, say, hospitality with tech, which is somewhat of a scary industry to approach when you actually need it. And with that added layer of transparency, when we're telling the customer it will be done by the end of the day, plus having a price that they know they're going to pay and it's not going to get completely inflated. That's it. And like that demographic really appreciates that because
Okay, and you work on the I look honest.
Well, we are.
Yeah.
We try and add that extra layer of transparency because we want to make people feel comfortable, and that's the whole business model that we're going for.
Good. Now we've got to come back to the title of this talk, how you created a startup in 24 hours. Walk us through it. This is a big claim. I'm still a bit skeptical. You have not explained it to me yet, so I'm going to listen along with
I tried to. You wouldn't let me. You said that you have to wait until you do this.
I want to hear it fresh with everybody else. Go for it. Cool. We're all listening.
I've got a list here because off the top of my head, I'll get flustered. So using my background that I previously had in web design, marketing, graphic design, and understanding how branding and having like a demographic that you can chase and choosing a niche, that really did.
20 years. 20 years.
It did benefit me greatly when I was starting this. So saying 24 hours, about half of that was choosing the name, because I would only choose a name if I could get the domain .com.au. So pretty much I just chose the subcategory in an industry. What can I niche into? Let's just do computers. There's a lot of people out there that do computers, phones, tablets, printers, servers, networking on sites. And we was like, let's just do anything that someone can bring into the shop that's a computer or a laptop. Choosing a niche and really getting down to like, how can I be as consistent as possible when I'm doing 1 or 2 things within a group of 20? That's the main thing. So computers and laptops, that's my niche. So you want to get an ABN and get a domain name. So the domain name was first before the business name, from what I said before. So I got geekly.com.au because I wanted it to be incredibly easy to remember. So I've got Michael at Geekly, we've got Angus, my Apple technician at Geekly, hello at Geekly, all those emails, which are nice and easy to remember. And that's how we got the name. So Geekly Computers is what we were called. I've cut the computers off about 3 weeks ago, just so we're called Geekly. And then, so that's 4 things. So you've got the choose a niche, get an ABN, get a domain name, get a good business name. Next, you want to get a payment system, Square. Square I set up in about 30 minutes. And I took a transaction from my own card into my own bank account. And I was like, wow, that was easy. And that's the whole business model, is to make it as easy as possible for people to create businesses. After that, I created a website that took me about 30 minutes just because I had that skill of just creating a simple one page. This is my phone number. This is what we do. This is where we are. And then got straight onto creating a Facebook and Instagram. And that took another maybe an hour. And then a Google My Business page, which is completely underrated. If you don't have one of those, no one's going to find you on Google. They'll see everyone else first. And then you want to start running ads. So at the end of all that, I started running ads for just computer repairs, but also computer coaching. It was something that I always wanted to do. It was a bit lacking in the industry. Everyone does repairs and retail, but no one will sit down with you and actually explain how things work to make sure, one, you're being safe online, but also simple things like sitting down with someone and they've just got a new job. They have to use Excel. Okay, let's sit down for an hour. I'll teach you all the basics of Excel. And the last thing is just be obsessed with getting social proof. I think I had 10 reviews in the first month, all 5-star on Google, which builds that social proof so people trust you a lot more when they first see your business name. It's the first time they've seen you. You want to make a good impression. Now we have 359 after about 2 years.
Yeah.
All 5-star. My biggest accomplishment.
There's a few in the room that would agree and know exactly what you're saying is all makes good sense. But obviously you had the skills that you could make it happen really quickly.
But at the same time as well, as I think anyone could do it. But definitely having those skills made me do it a lot quicker. When I say 24 hours, I really mean 8. Like I got to work one morning and I was like, cool, haven't had a quote come through for a website for maybe a month. Let's just do this. And then by the end of the day, I had it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but you already knew the steps. And I guess because you had your website design, you already knew a lot of those steps too. So that makes perfect sense. I'm prepared to accept your claim. You did it in 24 hours on that basis. So well done. So what have been the challenges that you've had to deal with along the way, and how have you overcome them? Because there's been a few changes in the 2 years that you've been operating. Do we want
simple answers and like really cookie cutter, or do you want me to be completely honest?
Well, we want you to be completely honest.
Awesome.
And if you aren't, we're going to ask you the question at the end anyway.
I won't take it off the bottom shelf. Let's go top shelf. So taxes, accounting, making sure your books are in line. That's been the biggest challenge. We're moving into a bigger shop, about 10 times the size of what I have at the moment. I don't want to touch my webcam. But we have a sub 15 square meter office. We're about to move into something that's about 100 square meters. So even just going through that lease has been a big challenge. But from the end of financial year last year, I was just obsessed with getting the tools that we need, getting all the infrastructure built. And that was easy because you just spend money. This is kind of like, all right, we've got all the tools we need. I've got a full-timer who's amazing. He's my second hand now. He's just unbelievable. I've got a trainee. So I've got all the staff covered, got all the equipment, we've got all the traffic coming. But how do we tidy it up? And the tidy up has been the biggest challenge so far. Because if you don't have your books, like I didn't even know what BAS was when I started. I wasn't registered for GST until a year in. But I needed to be. So I had to pay BAS for like 4 quarters beforehand, which was like, whoa, what's this? Here you go, here's more of my money.
So how did you sort yourself out? Where did you go to get help? And
The first thing that I do when I'm in a situation is I try and contact someone who I know is good at what I'm trying to tackle and has been through it. So I had a customer walk in one day, new to Bendigo. We got talking, we were fixing his computer. We got talking and he was actually, I'm pretty sure he was like maybe an executive business advisor somewhere, and he was semi-retired. His name's Marty. I don't know if he's in here. Said he was going to come.
Hey, Marty, if he's watching later.
He might, yeah. He's been a game changer. He helped me get a lawyer to write up contracts for Angus when he started. He helped me get in touch with an accountant and a bookkeeper. They're how I transitioned from a really basic accounting software to a new one, Xero. He's helping me currently look at my books at like a microscopic level. So make sure that when we're moving into this new place, we've got updated budgets and all that kind of stuff. So I really just, whenever I'm challenged with something, I'll always find someone who can help, who's been through it 100 times over.
And they're called champions in our community.
Yes.
That out of the goodness of their heart will share what knowledge they have or put you in touch with the professionals that can assist you, which is really important. That's part of our ecosystem and why we really should be sharing our knowledge. And this is part of this process. The other thing I'll give a shout out to is the Victorian Business Centre. They've got some great resources too that can help people that are really starting off at that very basic level. And you can find lots of things on there. But so you found your way around that. So it's really the behind the scenes, it's not a surprise because people
the stuff that's not fun at all.
That you're doing something that you're good at, that you love, but of course the tin tacks of business are not the things that we really like to do. And whether you're a plumber, an electrician, a techie or whatever, it's always a tough gig for everybody, but very essential and very important, those systems, having them in place. So what would you do differently in retrospect? If you could wind back the clock, forget about pandemics and lockdowns and things like that. If you were starting over, you've got your 24 hours there again, you know, ding, 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 you've got your name, you've got your domain, ABN, all of that. What would you do differently starting off now, knowing what you know?
Starting off at the beginning, knowing what I know now, I would get an accountant straight away and get them to sit me down and explain everything instead of me trying to self-teach myself and having to pretty much just, I don't want to say hit a wall so much as just having a realization of what you could. I don't know. Definitely getting professional help earlier, but I was already doing that. Like I have friends in the industry that helped me out tremendously whenever I needed help. But I'd say, yeah, definitely getting books, accounting, all that kind of stuff from the get-go sorted, because even though I was doing web design and marketing, I didn't have the structure there. I was kind of just doing it as a side hustle, but it was my main job. And then, yeah, I would have a lot more time right now to build on to what we currently have, but I've spent about 20% of my day today talking with my accountant, making sure that everything's like up to scratch and stuff like that. So it's a big thing that I feel like it's not romanticized very much, but you need to look at it that way, as in it's going to save you a lot of time in the future if you just be conservative and make sure everything is tucked away and ready to go.
Good call. And it is a difficulty, particularly as you say, side hustle. It's a bit of a hobby, test it, start off, and you don't want to outlay all that amount of money. So it is a trap common with those small businesses.
All up to date now. All up to date.
Yep.
Very happy. Like the relief in the last few weeks, very happy.
Yeah, no, that's great. So I just want to go back to your marketing and talk about that. You've obviously got that marketing background, that skill, which has stood you in good stead in getting your name out there. What has worked? Talk us about the strategy that you've implemented. You talked about Facebook, Insta, Google, and paid ads. Is that across all three platforms? And tell us what's worked well and what hasn't.
So at the beginning, I can definitely say my success is from Google ads. At the start, Google has a policy about not advertising third-party repairers, which I am classed as, but the location of Bendigo was not flagged for that. No one had ever tried, so it wasn't really, you could run them, but it would soon be blocked or you would have to make changes to it. So I had about a run of 9 to 12 months where Google didn't notice that I was running ads. So I was able to get under the rug. I was the only person in IT that was running ads on Google. And then a couple of more people obviously saw my ad in the same industry, started running it, and got flagged. So definitely Google ads for any industry is number one. Number two, as soon as Google because I was solely doing Google ads for the first year. As soon as Google got flagged, I was like, cool, I need to pivot. Let's go to Facebook and Instagram, which I was already doing for clients in the past. It's paid advertising, not social media, organic posts. Say, if I want to post right now saying I'm on this, that's free. You want to get it in front of people that don't know you exist. And the only way that people are going to see your post organically is if they like your page or if a friend shares it or like it. You want to pay upwards of $100 to $200 a week on paid Facebook and Instagram ads. Depending on your industry. Like if you can make your return on investment from maybe 1 or 2 sales for the week, cool. But I got a videographer friend, Levi Ingram from Relatable Creative, to come in and shoot a "We've moved" ad. Like, we're at 71 Mitchell Street. This is what we do. This is how we can offer. And that went crazy. I feel like when I'm shopping now, people are like, that's that guy from Geekly, which I used to do to people that I saw on TV like I was 10. But yeah, Facebook video ads, number one.
So video more so than stills. I've seen a lot of still photos as well.
They're good as well. So what we do is if someone has seen and played through, this is how microscopic you can go with Facebook ads. It's amazing. So if someone plays the video for 8 seconds, they know where we are because all the information is in those first 8 seconds. And then that triggers Facebook to send out about 8 alternative photo ads into their feed so they can actually just be more exposed to us. And hopefully we'll pop up when they're looking at their laptop and there's an issue with it and they'll just contact us straight away. But also that brand awareness, that's massive. And it's pretty cheap. Depending on what industry you're in and your bid rate with Facebook ads, you can get yourself in front of an entire population of, say, 220,000 people in Bendigo within about 3 months. Every single person who uses Facebook or Instagram will have at least seen your business. And I feel like that's incredibly underrated. Not a lot of businesses are actually doing that. They're focusing more on organic growth, like putting social media posts up for free, which will only reach a certain amount of people that already know about you. But what about those people that don't know about you yet? And as the new guys, that's incredibly important for us.
So in terms of working out your demographics, you obviously had your geographic. I'm just thinking, I saw your social media posts before I knew you. And you're right. I saw you were in Mitchell Street. So I knew to look for you. I didn't know where you were, but as I was walking down, I looked for you. And but I'm not in Bendigo. I'm in Mount Alexander Shire. So that's interesting. The wider, did you have set demographics? Can you remember what you put in?
Nothing. Everyone has a laptop. Everyone has a computer. We don't really have a demographic. It's just.
So you didn't put a geographic?
We did Bendigo with about a 50-mile radius, which is roughly 85 Ks. But it's just throw a massive net out, put some money behind it, and it's inevitable that someone will walk through your door specifically because of that. I think one week we had about 15 people come in and say, it was when I was doing a month worth of like, how'd you hear about us? 15 people in a week came in just because they saw our Facebook ad.
And the other thing I noticed that you have are these. Yes. So with your customers, and you say, tell us how we did. So this is how you get your Google reviews. Yeah.
So our Google reviews were coming through just by me asking people when I was in the old store and at the start of this store. And it was like, how can I make it easier? Because that's the business model that I've been building and I'm still building onto it. How can I make everything as easy as possible for the customer? For example, they walk in, we just get their name and phone number. That's it. That's all we need. Maybe a password for the computer if it's software based. But those review cards dramatically increase the rate that people would get with reviews just because it would be sitting around. It's got a QR code on it. If they're already logged into Google with their phone, it takes them directly to choosing a star rating. And number one piece of advice I can give to anyone asking for a review, just simply say 5 stars and higher is always appreciated. That has been the golden rule. Everyone does it. I don't know if it's just because we're really good or if they feel guilty if they don't. It just works. So if that's a little secret that I've got hidden up my sleeve.
Yes, you're putting the thought there. Excellent. So you're going to make a change of location. How are you worried about that? You're going to have to obviously do some work and education again. Your existing customers, obviously, you inform them. but it'll be a new. What are you going to do differently this time to make sure that you? Can you tell us where you're going? Are you in the CBD?
Yeah. So we're still in the CBD. We're on the other side of this block. So we're in Mitchell Street, opposite Kathmandu, if anyone knows where that is. We're actually going over to 37 Williamson Street, which is just near the Shamrock Hotel. That is happening. We get the keys on March the 1st. We open on April the 3rd, maybe a bit earlier, depends on the fit out. But yeah, that's going to be really good. The way that we're going to let customers know is Facebook ads, of course. We've already got a predetermined budget and we're creating those ads at the end of the month. It's going to be another video ad that's updated. And also we've got Square. So Square gets emails from every single customer that we've had through the door. So we'll send out a splash email. I'll call my very regulars because we're that kind of business. We don't text people to let them know that their laptops and computers are fixed. We call them. We want to talk to you. So I'll call those 50 odd customers that have given us the best reviews ever and sent a lot of referrals in. We have like a top list with an Excel spreadsheet with everyone that counts visits and how many people are referred and all that kind of stuff. I nerd out on that stuff, anything Excel related. But yeah, just advertising, just do what we're doing now, but change the directive to the new premises instead of our services for like probably 3 months straight.
Fantastic. You've got it well thought out. Obviously, you've got a pattern, it's worked well, you refined it, and you just repeat and rinse.
Yeah. So forever refining. If I can stress anything, don't get ever comfortable with your business. Always refine and try and build onto it that benefits not only you, but the customer's experience. Like, I think that's something that in this specific industry has been kind of forgotten about over the last like 10, 15 years.
So how are you keeping, you and Angus, how are you keeping on top of not only how to run a business, but what's happening in your industry and what you need to know about? Is that something that you have time to do?
We have a morning ritual. As soon as Angus gets here, I'm usually watching YouTube videos because I probably worked 2 hours before he's come in already. So we watch YouTube videos on what's happening in tech. We have a few YouTubers that we watch that are constantly keeping us up to date, but also it's our passion. So we're always just reading up on things anyway. And it's moving so quickly, even for us in this space of technology, mainly computers and laptops, that we're actually struggling to keep up. So yeah, you just have to find it in spare time, I guess.
So have you thought about how you manage obviously customer service is really important to you. How are you going to manage that? Are you prepared to scale up and grow? You're obviously moving to big premises. Is that this part of your plan?
I have a list of about 5 things over the next 10 years I want to accomplish. I'm not going to be, okay, those are set in stone yet. I'm kind of giving them until my birthday when I turn 30. So I've got about 6 months until I really commit to those 5 things. But I know that I want to set 5 goals for between 30 and 40 that are going to be like almost unobtainable. And I think that is expansion to a point where we're in every state at least, because our business model is so unique in how we approach things. But the only thing, as you said, am I nervous about finding the right people? Yeah, definitely, because most techs are sitting in back rooms in the dark, fixing computers, instead of actually having that customer-focused, hospitality-centric vibe about them. So finding the right people is definitely going to be the hardest thing. I'm already looking at another rural town in Victoria with a similar population. You can do the maths. That we'll probably expand into first, but finding the right person is going to take like a year just for that right person. Because you can't just hire someone and then expect them to meld straight away and really take it as serious as you, I guess. So yeah, I'll run an ad, put money behind it on Seek, Indeed for like 12 months to 2 years if I have to find the right person before we pull the trigger and actually open another store.
Okay, well, I've asked lots of questions tonight. I think it's time to turn it over to the room and see if there's any burning questions in the room. So has anyone got a question for Michael? Something that we haven't covered? or you'd like to know more about, revisit. They're thinking, they're thinking, they're thinking.
Come on, Bill.
I'll go. Michael, that's very interesting, and I absolutely love your story. I guess one of my questions is about your pricing. Like you said, that you don't charge on an hourly rate, and pricing is. I help a lot of businesses, especially startups, and pricing is one of their most difficult hurdles to overcome, and something that people struggle with because, if you've said it's a set price, but then if the job is harder than you anticipated. Yeah, how have you gone about that? How have you worked that out?
I gave away, so I could have made 15% more money in my first year with the amount of jobs that I just gave away for free. We're still playing around with it, and I know that we're going to have to change it when we move to the new store because of the overheads. But when I first started, if I spent 4 hours on a job, it would be $110. If I spent 30 minutes on a job, $110. If it took me 3 weeks to fix something really difficult, $110, because that's what I told the customer. And I feel like if you charge hourly, this is my main thing. I do this with web design too. If you charge hourly, I feel like you're ripping someone off if you don't have the skills to kind of do that service in a decent amount of time. Like, if I'm good at something, why should I get paid less than someone who takes longer? I guess. So that's why the standard rate that we have now is 165. So if it takes us an hour to fix, 165. If it takes us 3 days to do, which is rare, 165. And we just stack that on top of cost of parts. And I feel like that's good because we just tell the customer it's 165. If we fix something in 10 minutes, we have a quick fix fee of $55. If we are doing diagnostics on something and we can't fix it, it's $90. So it's just easier as well for the staff. Like, as soon as Angus walked through the door, he knew our prices off by heart. He told the first customer that walked through when he first started, this is how much it's going to be because it's so memorable. And I just feel like it's easier on the customer's end. It's easier on our end. If you take longer, I don't know. We're in the shop all the time. So I guess with tech, it's different. So you might work on a computer for 10 minutes, put it down, come back to it 2 hours later and work on it for 10 minutes. It's hard to charge hourly on something like that. So yeah, the fixed rates, I think in any industry will benefit you, especially if you're getting started. But there are those certain jobs where it's like, okay, let's charge hourly for this because it's a specialty. So you can do what's called a custom loop in a computer where the water goes in and out and cools the different components. I've done that like 3 times for customers and I've always charged hourly for it because it's one of those jobs that, what's the word? It's unpredictable. You'd never know if it's going to work straight away or if it's going to take a long time because there's different components involved. But if you're doing a screen replacement, for instance, on a laptop, just charge a simple, straightforward labor charge. Consulting, I do consulting for my web design studio. That's $165 just for a sit down. Doesn't matter if we sit down for an hour, it's 165. If we sit down and chat for 3 hours, it's still 165. Just easy, I guess.
So I'm sensing the simplicity of it. I think that's fabulous that Angus, can just quote that empowers your employee.
Yeah, straight away.
To be able to say, this is what it's going to cost, and that surety for the customer. And that's possibly reassuring and probably savvy for your target customers too, who would be concerned potentially about what the costs would be. So it works well for you, but it's something, once again, you probably have to monitor.
Yeah, and of course, like, it's blown out of proportion before. We've said 165 for a job and it's taken us like 3 weeks because it's just been a hell of a job. But you eat it. Like, you're in the shop all the time, you're monitoring it. You can only go as fast as it's going to let you go. So yeah, that's kind of how we just base it to, as you said, be simple for everyone. Yeah.
Great question, Amy. Fine too. While you're thinking, one of the things that I did want to share with you all before I thank and close this session is that we have a few more exciting events coming up shortly. And for those of you that haven't seen this, on the 27th of February, later this month, not so far away, we are having an in-person and live streaming event here in Bendigo, or up in Bendigo, I'm not actually there, on building a creative startup. And Jenny Wilson will be in conversation with Reggie Barpee III, who will share his experiences of remotely building and founding a company. And his key message is, doesn't matter where you are, and a bit like Michael, sitting down in 24 hours and, going through the motions, you can do it online, anywhere, anytime. And he's got a very interesting background, has Reggie. So you can register for that for free. You can either come online or later, come in person, have a drink and something to eat. And then next month, for the professionals, and these are for people that will be viewing it later on, we want to build the ecosystem. Who are the experts in the region in providing professional services to the region? So we're going to have a free expert presenter masterclass, and once again, it will be offered in person and live streamed. And it's about how can we better engage with startups and scale-up clients and get our key messages across. So it will be presentation styles about curating your content. And once again, we're offering that free. And it will be a really good event at the Emporium Creative Hub, also in Mitchell Street. So our events page is where you need to look on our website to keep in touch. And if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter as yet, it's very easy. You just go to our contact page and you can enter in your details and you won't miss a thing. And we're also building up lots of useful contacts, with business organizations, our eco dev departments, and other things that are happening beyond. So make sure you check out our website, which we're updating almost daily, and keep in touch with these things, and reach out to me if there's anyone you want to be put in contact. I'm getting very good at putting people in contact with others, or check out our resources. So tonight's talk will be recorded and put on our resources page, along with, I'm not sure, I think there's about 50 other talks have been put up there so far. So there's lots getting there. Thank you once again, Michael, for taking the time to share your story with us, warts and all, but that's what life is about, especially in business. And
it's about learning.
With the move to the new premises, we hope that's a success for you, and we'll know to look out for you in a different street when we see all that wonderful advertising hitting our screens again. So thank you everyone for attending, and thank you once again, Michael, and hope to see some of you on our next meetup or one of our events.